tiny event in my office. I probably could have fit the first 2 rows of people here, and Jeff was there, and it was an evening event, and so instead of drinking juice, we were drinking, what was Jeff? So wine, and and someone asked a very similar question, you know, after 3/4 of a glass of wine, I was just lubed enough to say, well, I guess I look for 2 things. I look for kick-ass entrepreneurs in big-ass markets. And then in this moment of irrational brilliance, I said, I guess I look for 2 asses. But that is really what I look for. I mean, and so we got you know, something like 700 different investment opportunities that came through our office last quarter, and we have to have a way to narrow those down into something that is manageable, even for, you know, a group of four partners. And so the first thing we look for is, you know, what is the team and who is the team? You know, are they people that have done it before? And if they are people that have done it before, you know, how do we learn about them and what do we know about them? And then how is the team structured in terms of, you know, I met with a company a couple of days ago where they had a CEO, a COO, a CFO, a VP of marketing, a VP of sales, and 2 engineers. And I'm like, well, you know, who's going to do the work? You know, I mean, and so, you know, it's that sort of thing. And then we look, you know, obviously for big markets because, I will disagree a little bit with Mitch in that, I mean, I agree with Mitch in that I love to see a product and I love to see that people can build a product, but I also know that the product that I'm looking at is never going to be the product that ends up winning, right? And so what I'm looking for is a team that it's moving in a big enough market and has the ability to take whatever they've started with and turn it into something just freaking massive. And so those are why those are the 2 things. And it pains me as an ex-product guy to say this. Oh my God, it pains me as an ex-product guy to say that because I do love products. But really for me, having spent enough time and falling in love with products and making a lot of bad investments because of that, that is what really drives me.
Just for the sense of the audience, you had 700 opportunities last quarter. How many did you invest in?
Last quarter, we invested in, I want to say, about 12.
So 12 out of 700, and the size of the investments ranged from?
Our average investment size ranges, well, so 95% of the investments, the initial investments we do are between, call it 250,000 and 850,000, but there are significant outliers on either side.
Jeff?
So when Rob said that, very sort of profound, I said, yeah, but you know what? Having had more wine than you had and being French, I'm actually looking for 3 asses. and it's really the smart-ass team, the big-ass market, and the kick-ass product. Because the issue, and you know, I completely agree with Rob that most often the product you see first is not what you end up really scaling and being successful upon. The problem is that even a great team in a potential market can come up with a pretty shitty product if you just go and say, hey, just trust us. And so I have really a hard time, and it's one of our sort of filters to just essentially give a pass to the team on the product side. So I want to see something, or I want to understand that you're going to build something which is going to be interesting, differentiated, and you have sort of already figured out a few things like customer acquisition, customer retention, customer referral, which will sort of give you a way to acquire your users, keep them around, and hopefully figure out a way to push them to help you acquire more users. And we're struggling with that, to be honest, because sometimes we pass on great teams that do interesting things just because, you know, they don't really know exactly how the product is going to end up looking like. And 9 months later, we go, damn, we should have invested. But, you know, in the law of large numbers of deals that we see, we have to put some filters. And we know that we won't do more than 2 deals a month.
So let me argue with you.
Please.
Mike's going on off.
Yeah, just wait for it to shut up.
I agree. If you come with a shitty product, that's not gonna endear you to me, right? Especially as an ex-product guy. But if you come with an unfinished product or a product, so like Aaron Passer is the perfect example. When I met Aaron from Mint, he had essentially a more or less a wireframe demo of what he was doing and something that was clearly imperfect. But the guy was astonishingly amazing, and he was going after a massive market. And so sometimes when you're early, you don't get a chance to see. Now, if someone has a completely finished product and they say this is it, and you look at it and you kind of cock your head and go, well, but this sucks. I mean, that's that's not going to help, right? But often in the early stages, you don't have enough of a product there to make a decision on the product. That was my point.
So I met Aaron 2 days later and actually agreed to invest as well. So I won't disagree with Rob. I think it's a fine balance between the promise of the product and what has already been built, but the product component and differentiation is something that we sort of look at. In the case of Aaron, it was sort of the personal finance side that doesn't exist, but everyone wants in the US. And I fell for that. Thank God.
Naval?
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm actually answering any question, but I would say that if you're setting this audience and you're going to start a company, and that is the meme du jour, you should really reconsider. You shouldn't do a company unless you're irrationally passionate about it, because it's a very, very efficient market out there for starting companies. It's gotten very easy to do one. I mean, I think Y Combinator is cranking out 61 in this batch, and there's dozens of those combinators. So every idea you can come up with is being tried. It's every monkey with every keyboard is out there trying to recreate the next whatever. And so you don't want to get into something unless you're so irrationally passionate about it that you'll stick with it to the bitter end. Because we're in an up fundraising cycle, which means you can raise money, but then that's a prison that traps you for the next 5 years or more in obligations to your investors and the people you recruit. So only get into it if you're willing to see it through the bust and then to the next bubble, which could be 3, 5, 10 years out. So I would just say, just be very careful about what you're getting into. Personally,
I'm going to take that.
Please.
Which is irrationally passionate, I would say, is terrific, is necessary, but not sufficient.
Clearly.
Because
right.
my pet peeve is irrationally passionate entrepreneurs with terrible ideas. It's not a substitute. And so I'm also a product guy. And people who are irrationally passionate are the ones who just try to argue you down in each and every instance and not actually listen and take feedback. And that's something that I actually think is important for entrepreneurs' learning curves. And I think all of us here actually, while we're in business to make money, we actually love entrepreneurs and love helping. And sometimes you come in and you pitch and you get turned down, but you can actually take away something of even more value than a check, which is a point of view or a perspective on what you might want to consider doing next to make the thing more fundable. And one of the pet peeves is sometimes people are so much in sell mode that absolutely nothing gets through. And I always feel sad and like it's a lost opportunity. Like, no, I'm not going to invest in this thing, but I actually have something of value, a gift that I'm trying to offer, and it's being spurned. Now, you're not supposed to take care of my feelings. I'm a big boy. But the point is that not just me, but with experienced investors who are also entrepreneurs and founders, there are many different dimensions of value that are exchanged in meetings. Please don't be so focused just on the check that you miss the other things.